Man, I'm shaking nervous recording this, I swear, because I spent the last 3 months talking to retired GM engineers, mechanics who worked at dealerships for 30 years, and guys who literally built these Silverados on the production line. And what they told me, Chevrolet would not want you to know this. Stay to the end because number one is going to blow your mind. It's literally the year they bought for themselves and their families, and there's a specific reason.
Look, there's an unwritten rule inside GM. The most experienced engineers know exactly which years to avoid and which years to run and buy before the price explodes. And it's not by chance. These guys live and breathe these trucks. They know when accounting cut costs, when they used cheap parts to save money, and especially when they did everything right and created something special. And before you lose this information that can save you tens of thousands of dollars, subscribe to the channel now. Because if this video disappears, you're gonna regret not saving this list. Let's go. Year number 5, 2014, the last breath of the classic. Write that down. This was the last year of the GM 900 generation, and there's a reason why every mechanic I know has one stashed in the garage as an investment. Let me explain something. When an automaker knows they're going to change generations the next year, two things can happen. Either they relax and send whatever to the market, or they make sure to go out with a bang. GM chose the second option. You know that uncle of yours who owns a construction company and never trades in his trucks? I bet they're 2014s. Talking to a guy who manages a fleet for an oil company in Texas, he told me something that gave me chills. We bought 47 Silverados in 2014. We've already sold the 2015s, 2016s, and 2017s. The 2014s? No way. These are staying till the end. What makes it special? Simple. By 2014, GM had 11 years to fix all the little problems of this generation. Everything that rattled, everything that broke, everything that was a headache had already been fixed. It's like buying an iPhone in the last year before they changed the design. You get all the improvements, none of the new problems. And here's information that's going to drive you crazy. The 2014s use practically the same parts as the 2007 through 2013. That means there are parts everywhere in the market. While owners of 2015 and up cry at the dealership counter paying catalog prices, you go on Rock Auto and pay half the price. An engineer who worked on the project told me, off the record, if I had to choose a Silverado to give my son as his first truck, it would be a 2014. I'd sleep soundly. Price today? Between $18,000 and $28,000 depending on configuration and mileage. But listen, in 5 years, you're gonna kick yourself for not buying when it was cheap. Year number 4, 2019, the modern sweet spot. Now pay attention because 2019 is weird. Everyone talks about 2020, 2021, 2022, but the guys who really know are hunting for 2019s. Why? Perfect timing again. The new generation had debuted in 2014. Yes, confusing, I know. So by 2019, GM had already had 5 years of market feedback, 5 years of recalls, complaints of, man, this part here sucks, let's improve it. But here's where it gets sinister. In 2020 came the pandemic. And guess what happens when an automaker goes into panic mode crisis? They cut costs. Cheaper parts, cheaper suppliers, everything to survive. The 2019s were built still in the normal world, with normal quality standards, without desperation. A production manager who worked at the Fort Wayne plant told me something bizarre. Starting in March 2020, components started arriving from suppliers we'd never used before, Chinese parts replacing American ones, and we couldn't say anything because it was orders from up top. That explains so much. So, the 2019 is like that perfect dish the chef makes before everything goes wrong in the kitchen. Everything was still up to standard. Another crucial detail, 2019 was before the new generation 10-speed transmission started having the problems it had later. The 8-speed that came in them was already mature, tested, reliable. Talking to a guy who works at a transmission specialty shop, he was straight. The 2019s, almost never see them here. But 2020 and up, every week there's one. And there's another trigger here. 2019 still catches some financing incentives better than following years, and it's at a price that hasn't exploded yet, between $28,000 and $38,000 for a well-maintained one. But this won't last, because the market is starting to discover what insiders already know. Year number 3, 2007, the one that changed everything. Now hold on to your chair, because 2007 is legendary, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. 2007 was the first year of the GM 900 generation, and normally, first year of a new generation is a trap, right? Wrong. Not in this case. You know why? Because GM spent 7 years developing this generation. 7 years. That's an eternity in the automotive world. They had tested, retested, broken, and fixed everything before sending it to market. And here's the secret an old GM engineer told me over beers. 2007 was the last year we had unlimited budget to develop a pickup. After the 2008 crisis, it was never the same. They cut everything. Do you understand the magnitude of this? The 2007s were built with the mentality and money of a GM that was still giant and powerful, before bankruptcy, before the cuts, before everything. And there's more. 2007 was before they forced GM to put all those emission and complicated technology frills. It's an analog truck. Everything is simple, straightforward, without electronics to fail. A mechanic at a Montana dealership told me something I'll never forget. I've worked here for 28 years. The Silverados that give least trouble are the 2007s. It's statistical. Look at our system. The numbers don't lie. And he showed me. Number of service orders by model year. Guess which had the least? 2007. This isn't coincidence. It's real engineering. Price? Here's where it gets interesting. A well-maintained 2007 is still between $12,000 and $20,000. Seems like a lot for an 18-year-old truck? Man, in 10 years, this is going to be a collector's item. You're going to look back and say, why didn't I buy when it was 15 grand? Year number 2, 2003, the hidden relic. Take a deep breath, because 2003 is different from everything. This one isn't about technology. It's not about being modern. It's about something much more rare, real construction. 2003 was the peak of the GMT 800 generation, and that generation was designed by engineers who still had connection to the trucks from the 70s and 80s. Guys who started their careers when things were made to last. A retired engineer who worked on the project told me, crying, yes, crying, we knew we were making something special. Management still let us do it right. After, it was never like that again. And you feel this when you drive a 2003. The door closes differently. It has weight. It has substance. It's not that tin of sheet metal you hear in the new ones. But here's where it gets insane. The 2003s use what engineers call over-engineering. They made parts stronger than necessary. Why? Because they could. Because there was budget. Because it was allowed. I know a guy who has a fleet of 12 Silverados from 2003 that he uses for heavy work, towing, construction, farm, everything. Know how many times he's had serious problems with these trucks? 0. They just work, he told me. I change oil, filter, and tires. That's it. The rest seems like it never breaks. And it's not just him. There's an entire community of 2003 owners who treat these trucks like family heirlooms, pass them from father to son. Price? Between $8,000 and $16,000 depending on condition. And I'm going to tell you something. That's theft. You're buying a truck that was made in a different era of manufacturing. But there's a catch. It's getting hard to find good ones, because those who have them don't sell, and the ones that appear on the market fly. If you find a well-maintained 2003 with maintenance history, no rust, man, buy it. Don't think twice. Year number 1, 2015. The secret nobody tells. And we've arrived at number 1. And this one's gonna shock you because nobody talks about this. But wait, you must be thinking, wasn't it the 2014 you said was good? Yes, but the 2015 is the unicorn. Let me explain. 2015 was the first year of the new generation. And normally that would be terrible, remember? But GM did something they'd never done before. They took all the feedback from 11 years of the previous generation and applied it from day one. Talking to a chief engineer who worked on the project and who made me swear I wouldn't reveal his name, he told me 2015 was treated internally as if it were the third year of production. We had a list of everything that went wrong with the old ones, and we eliminated everything. But here's where it gets crazy. In 2016, GM started economizing. They changed suppliers of some key parts, cut some specifications, small stuff, but it matters. The 2015s were made with the original standard, the standard that engineers wanted, before accounting stuck their fingers in. And there's a sinister detail a plant manager told me. The 2015s were built by workers who were excited. It was a new truck, new design, there was pride in the factory. After that, it becomes routine. You feel this in the final product. Another point, 2015 has the best ratio of technology versus simplicity. It has enough modern stuff to be comfortable, but doesn't have so much electronics that it becomes a headache. A guy who works fixing electrical parts on trucks told me 2015 is the sweet spot. After that, each passing year gets more complicated. More sensors, more screens, more stuff to fail. And here's the final play. Several GM engineers I interviewed bought 2015s for themselves. When a guy who designed the truck buys that specific year, you pay attention. Price? Between $25,000 and $40,000, depending on configuration. It's not cheap, but you're buying the year that the creators themselves chose. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. If I were buying a Silverado today with my own money, it would be a 2015, without thinking twice.
So to summarize, 2015, 2003, 2007, 2019, and 2014. These are the years that the guys who really know are buying. But there's a crucial detail. This information won't stay hidden forever. The more people discover this, the more prices will explode. So if you're thinking about buying a Silverado, now is the time. Not in 6 months, not next year, now. And tell me in the comments, do you have any of these years? Agree with the list? Disagree? I want to know everything. And if this video gave you clarity about which Silverado to buy, hit that like button because it really helps the channel grow and bring more content like this. Next week, I'm going to show you the 5 worst Silverado years you should avoid at all costs. And one of them is so problematic, even mechanics refuse to work on it. Don't miss it. Thanks, and see you next time.